They say the mind is a fragile thing, but in the silence of the night, when the world grows quiet and shadows stretch longer across the walls, the mind becomes something else entirely. It twists. It bends. It begins to wonder, what if the dark isn't empty at all? Tonight, you and I are going to step into that darkness together. But before you do, take a moment. Look around the room you're in right now. The corners. The places your eyes avoid. That uneasy feeling crawling up your spine. Don't brush it off. Because every story you're about to hear was born from the spaces we pretend not to notice. These are not tales of heroes or of happy endings. They are whispers carried from forgotten houses, echoes from cracked telephones, reflections staring back from cursed glass. Stories that linger long after the words have faded, crawling into your thoughts when you least expect it. Stories that remind you of one simple, terrible truth. Sometimes the most terrifying monsters aren't out there in the world. They're the ones waiting in the quiet, just behind your shoulder. But I have to warn you, this journey comes with a cost. Once you open yourself to these tales, you can't simply close the book and move on. They cling. They return when you try to sleep. They slip into your dreams, and soon enough, you'll be wondering if you're living inside a story of your own. Are you ready for that? Because here's the thing. What you're about to hear is not just a collection of ghost stories. No, these are pieces of darkness stitched together from the deepest fears of people just like you. People who swore what they saw was real. People who never found answers. People who disappeared without a trace. I want you to imagine this. The night is heavy. The only sound is the ticking of a clock in the distance. You're listening, but you're not alone. A presence lingers. You don't see it, but you feel it. That is exactly how these stories work. They take root in your mind until you can't shake the feeling that something unseen is following you too. So, if you're still here, if curiosity is stronger than your fear, then lean in closer. Let the world outside melt away. From this moment on, every sound you hear, every flicker of shadow, every breath in the dark could mean more than you want it to. This is your last chance to stop, to turn away, to switch off, to convince yourself that it's just a video. But if you keep listening, if you let the darkness in, then remember this. Once the tales begin, they will not let you go. Welcome to Dark Tales that will haunt your mind. They say there's a house at the edge of the woods. No one remembers who built it or why it's still standing. It shouldn't be. The walls sag inward as if the house itself is trying to collapse, to swallow itself whole, to erase its existence from this world. And yet, despite years of storms, despite winters that splintered stronger homes in half, it remains. I first heard about it from an old man who ran the gas station near town. He told me, in a low, shaky voice, that the house was more than just empty walls. It was hungry. Every few years, someone would go inside, and they wouldn't come back. At first, people thought it was just teenagers getting lost in the woods. Then, families. Whole families. They'd vanish, leaving cars parked at the roadside, dinner still in their ovens, as if they were snatched in the middle of living. The house took them. Of course, I didn't believe him. Not really. I thought it was just another ghost story to scare kids into staying home at night. But then, I saw it for myself. The first thing that struck me was the silence. The woods, usually alive with crickets and rustling branches, went still the moment I approached the clearing. It was like the world was holding its breath. My flashlight caught the shape of the house. Crooked roof, shattered windows, the front door hanging slightly ajar. The air felt wrong. Heavy. Every step I took toward that house seemed to pull something out of me, like it was draining me before I even touched the porch. I told myself to turn back, But curiosity is a dangerous thing. The kind that whispers, just one look won't hurt. Inside, the air was colder than it had any right to be. My breath came out in soft white clouds, and the floor groaned beneath my feet. There were old pictures still nailed to the walls, faces blurred, faded beyond recognition, but with eyes that seemed to follow me no matter where I moved. The smell of rot and mildew was thick, but underneath it was something sharper, something metallic. Blood. I found the first stain in the hallway. Dark, dried, years old maybe, but it spread across the wooden boards like a shadow burned into the house itself. And the deeper I went, the more stains I found. On the walls, across the stairs, a trail that seemed to guide me upward to the second floor. That's when I heard it. A door creaking shut somewhere above me. But I swear, I hadn't touched a thing. My heart hammered in my chest as I crept up the stairs, each step protesting under my weight. I wanted to stop. I wanted to run. But something about the house doesn't let you leave once you've stepped inside. It keeps you moving, nudging you deeper into its stomach, like prey being swallowed whole. The hallway upstairs was lined with doors, but one stood out. It was the only one closed. My hand trembled as I reached for the knob, cold brass biting into my skin. When I pushed it open, the smell hit me so hard I gagged. The room was wrong. Not messy, not abandoned. Wrong. The wallpaper peeled in strips, curling like dead skin. The bed was neatly made, but the sheets were stained dark. And in the corner, there was a chair, and someone was sitting in it. At least, what was left of them. The figure was slumped forward, hair matted over its face, clothes rotting off its body. But what froze me wasn't the body itself. It was the fact that I could hear it breathing. Shallow, wheezing, as if the house itself was forcing air into the corpse, keeping it alive for reasons I couldn't understand. Then its head jerked up, eyes clouded, mouth twisted into something between a scream and a grin. And though its lips never moved, I heard the voice clearly in my head. You shouldn't be here. I stumbled back, tripping over the threshold, slamming the door shut with everything I had. My chest heaved, my skin crawling, but it didn't matter. The door began to open again. Slowly, relentlessly. I bolted. I didn't care if the stairs collapsed under me, didn't care if the walls caved in. I just ran. The front door, the clearing, the woods. My legs carried me faster than they ever had in my life. When I finally burst back onto the roadside, I collapsed, gasping, clawing at the gravel just to make sure it was real. The night sounds returned. The crickets, the rustle of leaves, as if nothing had happened at all. I swore I'd never go back. But here's the thing. When you see that house once, it doesn't leave you alone. I dream about it now. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, and I swear I hear that same voice whispering from the shadows of my room. Sometimes I smell that metallic scent, faint but undeniable. And last night I woke up and found dirt on my shoes. I think the house is calling me back. And when it does, I don't think I'll be able to resist. It started with a phone call. I was half asleep, the kind of days where dreams and reality blur together, when the shrill ring of my phone split the silence. The clock read 2:13 a.m., a time when no good news ever comes. I almost didn't answer, but something deep inside urged me to pick up. Hello, I whispered, voice dry, heavy with sleep. At first, there was nothing, just a soft crackle, static whispering through the receiver. Then a voice. Low, familiar. It's me. My breath caught in my throat. Because I knew that voice. I'd have known it anywhere. It was my brother's voice. The problem? My brother had been dead for 5 years. I sat up in bed so fast the sheets tangled around my legs. My skin prickled with cold sweat, heart slamming like a hammer in my chest. My mouth opened, but no words came out. On the line, he spoke again. Don't hang up. Please. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell myself this was some sick joke, a recording, a dream. But the way he said my name next, the exact way he used to when I was a kid, half annoyed, half loving, there was no mistaking it. It was him. I whispered back, barely audible. You're gone. You're not supposed to be here. The static deepened, pulsing like a heartbeat. And then his tone shifted. Softer. Sadder. They lied to you. My skin crawled. What do you mean? But before he could answer, the call cut off. Dead air. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear long after the line had gone silent, too afraid to move. The next morning, I convinced myself it hadn't happened. It couldn't have. Maybe it was a dream. maybe stress, maybe my grief clawing its way back. I told myself whatever I had heard wasn't real, until the next night. Again, at 2:13 a.m., the phone rang. This time I didn't hesitate. I grabbed it on the first ring, heart pounding. He was there. My brother. Breathing, his voice shaking like he was standing just outside in the cold. "You have to listen," he said. "You don't have much time." The line crackled, distorting his words, but one sentence cut through clear as glass. "They didn't bury me where you think." I froze. A chill swept over me, so sharp it felt like needles under my skin. His body had been laid to rest in our family cemetery. I had stood there, flowers in hand, watching the coffin lower into the earth. What was he saying? Before I could ask, the line warped again, static shrieking so loudly it pierced my ears. Then, nothing. Silence. That night, I didn't sleep. The third call came, same time, same chilling tone. By then, I was shaking as I answered. "Why are you calling me?" I whispered. A long pause. Then, "Because you're the only one who can hear me. The only one who can find me." The words rattled inside my skull. My body trembled with the weight of them. Find him? What did that even mean? "Where are you?" I asked. Static. Then faintly, almost too faint to catch, his answer slipped through. "Under the floor, they hid me." The line went dead. I dropped the phone, staring at it as if it might bite me. Every part of me screamed that this wasn't real, that grief had cracked me open and poured hallucinations into the wound. But I couldn't shake the truth. The calls were real. The voice was real. The next day, I drove to his old house. Our childhood home had long been abandoned, dust curling over the walls, windows boarded, air thick with mold. I don't know what I was expecting to find, but as I stepped into that place, I swear I could feel him. The smell, the air, it was heavy with memory. And then, right on cue, the phone rang. 2:13. I answered, heart in my throat. "Here," he whispered. His voice was closer now, clearer, as if he was standing right behind me. "You're standing over me." The floorboards groaned under my feet. The living room, the same spot where he used to sit and play guitar when we were kids. My legs gave out, and I dropped to my knees, palms pressing against the dust-caked boards. And that's when I heard it, not through the phone this time, but from the house itself. A faint knock, from underneath the floor. I staggered back, my heart slamming so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. The phone slipped from my hand, clattering against the wood, and his voice bled through one last time. "You're not supposed to know. They're coming. Don't let them find you." The line cut out. The house went silent. But I wasn't. I was screaming. I don't remember how I got home that night. I don't remember locking the doors, or crawling into bed, or staring at the ceiling until the sun rose. All I remember is the ringing of that phone, over and over, even when it wasn't ringing at all. And now, I'm afraid to answer. Because if he calls again, if I hear his voice one more time, I don't think I'll ever be able to hang up. And if I never hang up, maybe I'll find myself on the other end of the line. College dorms are never quiet. There's always laughter echoing down the halls, doors slamming at odd hours, music bleeding from one room into another. But that night, my dorm was silent. Too silent. My roommate, Claire, hadn't come back yet. She was always the social one, always out with friends while I preferred to stay in. It wasn't unusual for her to spend a night away, but by the third day, I started to worry. Her side of the room was untouched, bed still made, textbooks stacked neatly, phone charger still plugged in. And yet, her shoes were gone. The pair she wore every day. I told myself she'd be back soon. She had to be. But as the hours dragged into another day, the silence became unbearable. Every creak in the dorm felt amplified. Every shadow stretched too long, like the room was holding its breath. Then the strange things began. The first was the toothbrush. I woke up one morning to find it wet, bristles glistening, as if it had just been used. But Claire hadn't returned. I checked with her friends. No one had seen her. No one had heard from her. Then came the books. I kept my textbooks on my side of the desk, hers on the other. One evening, I came back from class to find one of hers open. A page marked with a torn piece of notebook paper. My stomach twisted when I read the words she'd underlined. Some disappearances are not accidents. Some are invitations. I slammed the book shut and shoved it back onto her desk, trying to laugh it off. But I couldn't shake the chill creeping through my bones. By the fifth night, I was barely sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I swore I could hear her. The rustle of sheets, the faint scratch of a pencil, even her soft hum as she scrolled through her phone. But when I opened my eyes, her bed was empty. I thought I was losing my mind, until the closet door opened on its own. I'd left it shut, I was sure of it. But there it was, yawning wide, darkness spilling out like ink. My pulse hammered as I crept toward it, every step heavier than the last. Inside, everything was as it should be. Her jackets, her shoes, her perfume bottle. But there was something new. A note, folded neatly, sitting on the floor. I picked it up with trembling fingers. The handwriting was hers. I'd know it anywhere. Don't look for me. I dropped it instantly, heart thundering so loud I thought it might shatter my ribs. The room tilted, pressing in on me from all sides. How could she have written that if she was gone? Unless she wasn't gone. Not completely. That night, I tried to sleep with the lights on. But somewhere between dreams and waking, I heard it. The unmistakable sound of her key in the door. My eyes snapped open. The knob turned, slow, deliberate. The door creaked open. I didn't move. I couldn't. My whole body locked in place as I watched her shadow spill into the room. Claire's silhouette, tall and familiar, crossing toward her bed. She sat down, head bent, hair falling over her face. "Claire," I whispered. She didn't answer. Her form stayed still, unmoving, like a statue draped in shadow. My throat tightened as I sat up slowly, every muscle screaming at me to stay down. When I blinked, she was gone. Her bed was empty, but the sheets were rumpled. The smell of her perfume hung heavy in the air. By morning, her bed looked exactly as it had before, neatly made, untouched. I almost convinced myself it had been a dream, until I noticed something on my desk. Another note. "Stop asking questions. They're listening." I couldn't breathe. Who was listening? What did she mean? I took the note to the campus police, desperate for answers. They searched the dorm, the surrounding area, everywhere she might have gone. Nothing. No trace. They told me stress was messing with my head, that I was imagining things. But I know what I saw. And the notes kept coming. Every few days, one would appear. Folded. Waiting. Each one stranger than the last. "It's safer in the dark. Don't trust them. You'll see me soon." The final note wasn't on her desk, or in the closet, or under her pillow. It was on my bed. I woke up with it pressed against my chest, as if someone had placed it there while I slept. This one was different. Trade places with me. My blood turned to ice. Trade places? With her? What did that mean? I stared at her bed across the room, the perfectly folded blanket, the pillow untouched. For a split second, I thought I saw the blanket shift, as if someone had just climbed beneath it. And then, I swear I heard her voice. A whisper, soft but sharp enough to slice through the silence. "It's your turn." The lights flickered. The room plunged into darkness. When they came back, my bed was empty. But Claire sighed. Her blanket was messy. Her pillow indented, as though someone had been lying there all along. And the worst part? The note stopped after that. Because I think she doesn't need to write anymore. She's here. And I'm the one who's gone. I've been driving cabs for 12 years, and in that time, I've seen just about everything. Drunk college kids, heartbroken lovers, shady men carrying things they didn't want anyone to ask about. But nothing ever got under my skin like the passenger I picked up one rainy night on the edge of town. It was just past midnight. The rain was relentless, blurring the windshield into a sheet of silver. My shift was almost over when I saw someone standing by the roadside. A woman. No umbrella, no coat, just a pale figure with her arm raised, signaling for a ride. Something about her froze me, even then. Maybe it was the way she didn't seem wet, despite the downpour. Or maybe it was how still she stood, as if the rain itself refused to touch her. But I stopped. Of course I did. A driver never leaves someone stranded at night. She slid into the back seat without a word. I glanced in the mirror, trying to catch her face, but the darkness swallowed her features. All I could make out was her long hair, dripping across her shoulders. "Where to?" I asked. Silence. I cleared my throat, tried again. "Ma'am? Where are you headed?" Nothing. She just sat there, motionless, her shadowed outline fixed like a cutout against the seat. The hairs on the back of my neck stood straight. Finally, she spoke. A whisper so faint I almost thought I'd imagined it. "Just drive." Her voice was strange, flat, cold, like it had traveled a long way just to reach me. I hesitated, but something in me obeyed. I pulled onto the road, headlights carving tunnels through the rain. Every few seconds, I glanced at the mirror. She was there. Still. Silent. Watching. We drove like that for 20 minutes. No directions. No words. Just me and the steady rhythm of her breathing behind me. Except, it didn't sound right. It was too slow. Too deliberate. Like each breath was forced. My chest tightened. I tried to break the tension. "Rough night?" I asked, voice trembling more than I wanted. Her reply was immediate. "Not yet." My hands gripped the wheel tighter. Another 10 minutes passed. The road grew lonelier, trees pressing in close on either side. The rain had eased, but the silence inside the cab was heavier than ever. Then I noticed something in the mirror. Her reflection wasn't moving. I blinked, wiped at the glass. She was sitting there, plain as day, but her reflection just stared back, unblinking, unmoving. I nearly slammed on the brakes. When I looked again, she was leaning forward, her face inches from the mirror. For the first time, I saw her eyes. Empty. Black. No whites. No pupils. Just endless pits. My throat closed. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Then, softly, she whispered, "Do you know what it feels like to die in the back seat of a car?" The air vanished from my lungs. My body screamed at me to run, to get out, to leave her there in the dark. But I couldn't. My hands were glued to the wheel. She leaned closer, her breath cold against my neck. "I do." The cab swerved, tires screeching as I nearly lost control. I shouted, twisting around, but the seat was empty. Gone. The back seat, the mirror, the cab itself, empty. Just me and the rain and the sound of my own panicked breathing. I pulled over, shaking so hard I could barely keep the engine running. My eyes darted to every corner of the car, desperate for proof that she hadn't been real. And that's when I saw it. The seat was wet. A dark, wide stain where she'd been sitting. And lying on the floor mat, half hidden in the shadows, was a necklace. Tarnished silver. The kind you bury with someone. I didn't touch it. I couldn't. I slammed the car into drive and sped back to the city, heart pounding against my ribs. By the time I made it to the depot, the stain was gone. The necklace too. As if she'd never been there at all. I told myself it was exhaustion. A trick of the mind. But a week later, I heard the story on the radio. A woman had died in the back seat of a cab years ago. Late at night. In the rain. Driver swore she'd just stopped breathing. No warning, no explanation. They buried her in the cemetery at the edge of town. I switched the radio off, hands trembling against the wheel. Now, every time it rains, every time a figure raises their hand from the roadside, I feel it again. That weight in the air, that chill down my spine. And sometimes, when I'm alone in the cab at night, I catch a glimpse in the mirror. A shadow in the back seat. Sitting, watching, silent, waiting for me to drive. I never believed in curses. Not really. But that was before I found the mirror. It was tucked away in the back of an antique shop on the edge of town, leaning against the wall behind stacks of dusty furniture. Something about it drew me in. The frame, ornate and carved with symbols I didn't recognize. The glass darker than it should have been, almost absorbing the light around it. The shopkeeper noticed me staring. His face went pale. "That's not for sale," he muttered, pulling a cloth over it. But I couldn't leave it alone. The more he refused, the more I wanted it. I pressed, insisted, until finally he relented. His hands shook as he wrote up the receipt, muttering under his breath, "Don't look too long." I laughed it off then. But the moment I brought it home, the air in my apartment changed. Heavier, denser. At first, it was subtle. My reflection looked off. Delayed. Maybe, like the glass needed a second to catch up. Sometimes my smile lingered a little too long after I'd stopped smiling. Sometimes, when I turned away, I swore I saw my reflection still watching. I told myself it was stress, poor sleep, bad lighting. Then came the whispers. Late at night, lying in bed, I'd hear them, soft voices, muffled, like someone talking through the glass. I'd sit up, straining to listen, but the moment I turned on the light, the whispers stopped. One night, I got brave, or stupid. I stood in front of the mirror with nothing but a candle burning beside me. "Who's there?" I asked. For a long moment, silence. Then, my reflection smiled. But I hadn't. The candle flickered violently, almost going out. My heart lodged in my throat as I leaned closer. My reflection leaned too, eyes darker than mine, smile too wide, too sharp. Then it whispered. My own voice, but not mine. "Let me out." I stumbled back, knocking the candle over. The flame went out, plunging the room into darkness. When I flipped the light on, the mirror was normal again. My reflection was just me. I told myself I imagined it. That's what I wanted to believe. But things escalated. The first time I saw it move on its own was in the bathroom. I was brushing my teeth, half asleep, when the reflection raised its hand before I did. I froze, toothbrush hanging from my mouth, watching as it tilted its head slowly to the side, grinning. I dropped the brush and ran. For days, I avoided the mirror, covered it with a sheet, shoved it into the corner. But at night, I'd hear it, scratching, from beneath the cloth, like fingernails dragging across the glass. I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to get rid of it. I hauled it down to the dumpster behind my building, heaving it onto the concrete. The glass didn't shatter, not even a crack. That night, when I returned to my apartment, it was there, back in its corner, waiting. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating. My world shrank to the four walls of my room and the thing inside it. I started catching glimpses in the corner of my eye, my reflection moving when I didn't, mouthing words I couldn't hear. Then came the final straw. I woke one night to a sound like glass breaking. Heart pounding, I turned on the lamp. The sheet had slipped off the mirror. And my bed was empty. In the reflection, I wasn't lying there. I was standing, right behind myself. I spun around. Nothing. Just shadows. When I looked back, the reflection was smiling again. My own face, twisted into something hungry. And then, without me moving a muscle, it raised its hand and pressed it flat against the glass. I don't know why I did it. Maybe fear. Maybe curiosity. Maybe because part of me wanted to believe. But I raised my hand too. The moment my skin touched the glass, the surface rippled like water. Cold shot through me, a deep, bone-dead chill, and I felt something pulling. Hard. I tried to yank my hand away, but it was too late. The reflection gripped me, dragging me forward, my body slamming into the glass. My scream echoed, muffled, distorted, as the room stretched and warped. And then, darkness. When I opened my eyes, I was staring out from inside the mirror. I could see my room, the bed, the lamp. And I could see it. The thing that looked like me. My double. My reflection. It turned, gave me one last smile, and walked away. Now I'm trapped here. My fists slam against the glass, but no sound comes out. My mouth screams, but no one hears. I am the reflection now. And sometimes, I see people glance into the mirror as they pass. They don't notice me at first. But if they look long enough, if they lean too close, I smile. And if they touch the glass, I'll finally have a chance to leave. Because the mirror doesn't just hold me. It's hungry. And it's always looking for someone new.